Where is he?
There's also a sub-lieutenant from Navy.
Where is it? Hey.
He was hiding. Where are you? There.
From 7 Met. Same training information. Where are you? Yeah, why are you taking Ngoma? What the shit is that? Sing! Sing! 16! Protect! All of you are dying for him. Ngoma!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you thought South Africa's National Defence Force couldn't sink any lower than begging for boots and borrowing bullets, think again. Because while our soldiers are, sewing their own uniforms, and our submarines are rusting away like abandoned scrapyard ornaments, the Department of Defense has just spent a whopping 34 million rand, yes, million, on a chartered luxury flight from Cuba. And it wasn't just for the 212 students who graduated there. Oh no, this wasn't just a happy little homecoming for young doctors. Nay, nay. No, my friends, at least 25 SANDF generals and commanders flew in business class. Reclining seats, gourmet snacks, plush pillows, fine cutlery, the works, all paid for by you. Picture it. July 13th, Havana, Cuba. A little slice of communist paradise where the cars are from the 1950s. The ideology is from the 1910s, and the ANC is from, well, the same mental century. The generals arrive in style from the big graduation of our SANDF students, people trained in medicine and engineering at Cuban institutions, courtesy of the South African taxpayer. They attend the ceremonies, pose for the pictures, enjoy a little Havana hospitality, and then a week later hop onto a Cobra Aviation private charter. Business class for the big bosses, economy for the little guys that graduated, actually. Now, for perspective, 34 million rand for one flight, right? That's about 160,000 rand per passenger if you divide it evenly among the 212 students and 25 generals. And 19 Cubans who also hitched a ride. Listen to this, guys. 19 Cubans also hitched a ride. You heard right. It gets so bad that 19 Cubans were on board this flight. And while the SANDF says, don't worry, that's part of long-standing bilateral cooperation, and it didn't cost us extra. As if it should have. Sure. And Eskom says load shedding is for your safety. Now, the Democratic Alliance, otherwise known as the DA, is calling for a full investigation, not just into the cost, but also why, in the middle of a military budget crisis, this was necessary at all. Chris Hutting, the DA spokesperson on defense, says that the SANDF wanted gourmet snacks, fine cutlery, plush pillows, and luxury catering for at least 25 business class seats. Because when your Navy has no working submarines, when your soldiers are ordinarily or literally relying on donations for uniforms, and when suppliers go unpaid for months, what you really need is gourmet cheese trays at 35,000 feet across the Atlantic. Now, the SANDF's excuse: we don't have the strategic aircraft capability to carry out long-distance personal movements to Cuba. Now, I would like to remind you that the Inquanazi, the president's plane, which is a Boeing, is well equipped to go that far, and it's also owned by the military. So, is that true? Now, the translation here, or in other words, what the military is actually saying is, our planes are broken, so we hired a private jet. And why not commercial flights, you ask? There's Emirates, there's SAA, there's all that, but no, not for them. Due to broader operational factors, group coordination, security management, medical equipment handling, and direct routing. Translation: we wanted to travel together, avoid queues, and have our own in-flight champagne service. By the way, the last time our Air Force tried to fly to Cuba with one of our own C-130 Hercules, aircraft was in 2017. And guess what? It broke down on the way back on an island called Recife. So clearly, the new strategy is don't even try. Just throw millions at a private operator, a Cuban one to be more specific. And of course, that private operator is Cobra Aviation, the same company that's been raking in SANDF contracts for cargo flights to the DRC and Mozambique. Competitors have even complained to the Hawks, saying Cobra is being favored. The Hawks found, in classical case, no evidence, which in South African government speak often means we didn't look too hard. Now here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about one expensive flight. This is about the government's decade-long romantic obsession with Cuba. An ideological throwback to their liberation struggle days when Havana was, well, their socialist pen pal. We've already spent over 3 billion rands sending our soldiers to train in Cuba, and a program that the AG says doesn't even comply with the Public Finance Management Act. Can you believe that? And now there's a new one coming, Project Kigala, because clearly if something's bleeding money, the ANC's instinct is to double it. So let's recap. 34 million rand for one charter flight. 25 generals flying business class with plush pillows, 212 students trained in Cuba at massive taxpayer cost, 19 Cubans hitching a ride on your dime, Navy submarines, are dead in the water, soldiers are begging for uniforms, suppliers are unpaid for months, strategic partnerships with countries like the US are collapsing because we look like an amateur operation run out of a spaza shop, as well as our SANDF using Gmail accounts because, their own email server is inactive. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when a government treats the defense force as a political toy instead of a professional military. The ANC's priorities are not about national security, operational readiness, or taxpayer value. They're about rewarding friends, flaunting status, and keeping alive outdated socialist friendships that have no tangible benefit to the ordinary South African. Now, in the meantime, our borders are wide open. Our military hardware is falling apart. And while our soldiers, the ones who are supposed to protect us, are demoralized, underpaid, and under-equipped. But hey, at least generals had plush pillows, because when your country's, security is collapsing, there's nothing more important than a well-fluffed cushion at 30,000 feet. And that, dear friends, is your defense force in 2025. Champagne in the sky, chaos on the ground. South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you that this past weekend, I actually won an award. And the award was Mail and Guardian Top Politician of the Year. Believe it or not, I will actually I'll post a picture for you guys to see. But still something I'm trying to take in. Truly grateful to the heavens for it. Thank the Lord. I thank my parents' support. Special shout out to my mother, to my father, as well as my sister, and to my partner as well for their ever continued support in this journey of this production. It means a lot to be part of that top 200 number one, and number two, to win an award, specifically as the top politician and top policy maker, in the country for 2025. It means a lot to me. I can only be grateful to God and to yourselves who watch, who share ideas with me, and who assist me in pushing and lobbying policy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I dedicate this to my family and to my late grandmother. Yep. So, it's been tiring this last weekend. It's been a very tiring and emotionally hectic weekend. But we won nonetheless. And yeah, truly grateful for your support, ladies and gentlemen. Truly, truly grateful for your support. Please have yourselves a blessed week ahead. I have also got a lot to do on my end. Till next time, Shabbat Shalom.
Wow.